Good evening, and welcome to our continuing series, Explorations in Savitri, with our brother Alok. We are continuing Book 2, the Book of the Traveler of the Worlds, Canto 11, The Kingdoms and Godheads of the Greater Mind, page 270, about 6 lines from the bottom.
So we are approaching the close of the second stair, which is the illumined mind, and then the intuitive mind will start. Just to once again put it in perspective, when we talk about these planes of consciousness and the hierarchy, it's not like fixed rigid stairs, but more like waves forms merging into each other. The essence is that as we climb from the human mind or the manifest levels in the human mind, the rational mind, to the supermind, there is a growing light. That's one part of it. Second is that there is a growing vastness. So you see through vast spaces of time. And the third is, especially at illumined mind, knowledge, along with knowledge, there is a accompaniment of joy. And then there is power. So, as we climb, we are entering into vaster territories of light. And this light begins to, increase, give joy, and also, give power. It is a power to create. So, this is how the progression takes place. Secondly, in higher mind, as we see, it's like sitting in the light, sunlight. But that light is not yet within us. So, that light is illumining things in a new way. So that's how we see it, look at things in a symbolic way, and it's the birthplace of religions. Then in the illumined mind, that light has gone into our eyes. So we can see now with a new light. Even where there is darkness, we can see something which otherwise would escape our attention. In the higher mind, that's not the case. So it cannot penetrate into dark realms because there is no light of its own. But in the illumined mind, there is some kind of a light which is of your own. In the intuitive mind, you climb further. This is actually an ascension. So you are now looking at things not just with the light within, but you are bathing in that rays. And you are actually looking at things from above. So it's a very different kind of vision altogether. So you can see through large spaces of time. And as last time we were discussing, it's like a lightning that shows a whole area. So what is missing now? What is missing is, there is a more direct contact in intuitive mind, not an indirect knowing. But what is missing is still the total truth.
And there's still the duality.
Yes, still the duality and still the total truth that is missing. So that goes only when one enters the supramental realm. Now Sri Aurobindo uses the word spiritual mind when he describes the territory from higher mind till the overmind. This is important because some sadhaks asked him that spiritual, anyways everybody talks about spiritual, so spiritual and supramental are the same thing. And Sri Aurobindo gives a reply, if spiritual and supramental were the same thing, then I would not be wasting my time to, So then he qualifies, spiritual is between the higher mind, from the higher mind to the overmind is spiritual. It's beyond the human mind, no doubt about it. But, and there is a greater breadth of the spirit, one can feel that, though spiritual is a very relative term also. That also Sri Aurobindo says, the mother says, even Swami Vivekananda has said, for an animal, human beings are spiritual because it's like, and for a certain kind of humanity, another kind of humanity may be regarded as spiritual. So it's a very relative term because spirit is everywhere. So in the deepest sense, everything is spiritual in that sense. But this word is used very loosely, so it's important to qualify it here. But none of these levels, even up to the overmind, can understand the great mystery of the Divine Mother. That remains, that escapes it. So that's what we are going to read, to cultivate humility and know our limitations. For the birth and death of the worlds, they fixed a date. So we see, as we were saying in Indian thought, you have Almanac, Panchang, and all the details. When was it born? Even scientists are doing that. 20 billion years ago, there was the birth of Earth. So like that, they fix a date. It's a great outreaching of the mind, no doubt about it. The diameter of infinity was drawn measured the distant arc of the unseen heights, and visualized the plumbless, viewless depths, till all seemed known that in all time could be. So, within the realm of time, whatever is there, manifested in physical nature, not in other worlds, at the physical level, the material universe, they could explore and give a date, measure it, and describe it. Like we were talking about, how much distance from here to sun and here to moon, by whatever means, but they could do it. All was coerced by number, name, and form. Nothing was left untold, incalculable. So we see often debates going on. There was some time back a debate on when was the Mahabharata war took place. Now, what is its real importance? It's the message of the Mahabharata is important, the Gita is important. Did Krishna physically exist or not? Sri Aurobindo starts the essay on the Gita from that. He says it is of less importance. As long as there is the truth of the inner Krishna and the inner Christ which you can reproduce, that's what yoga is about. Otherwise, you know all these things, but you do not live the consciousness of Krishna. Okay, it has some importance, but a very relative and a very secondary importance. So,
But fixing these dates
yes.
is a limitation.
Well, yes, because in a certain sense, there is no beginning and no end.
Exactly.
But they don't look at it like that. All that they are seeing is like, it's very interesting. This fixing a date. When you go on the flights, international flights, they have those flight maps where they are different kinds. So one of them is where actually they see the day and night map. So it's very interesting. I love to watch it because it's a inner experience. That suddenly we'll see that this area is now under light. So other are under the spell of darkness. But every moment we see it shifting. After some time, what was now under the light goes into darkness. Now actually somebody who is accustomed to see only the light part or the day part would say it doesn't exist, but it exists. That's how Brihadaranyaka Upanishad speaks about it. It never vanishes, it just goes out of the field of time. Nothing vanishes like that. In some essence, some form, it is there. So of course life will be different next day, but still it is, we can equally say that it has just gone into these shades of darkness, it will emerge again. So this the but one talks about a day starting at 5:30 in the morning or whatever and ending at the sunrise and sunset timings. And now comes the punchline, power packed. Yet was their wisdom circled with a knot. All this you may know. There is a very famous Persian saint, Bulleh Shah. So he says in one of his things that you have fought the whole world and conquered, but you have not fought one more battle. That is with your own ego. Until you conquer it, all your conquest is meaningless. That's why in Indian thought, Sri Aurobindo speaks about Arya and he speaks about he is first a Swarat, then he is a Samrat. Swarat is self-conquest. If you are a Samrat without Swarat, it means nothing. So, yet was their wisdom circled with a knot. You may know all this, and yet you may not have identified with the divine who transcends everything.
And then the next line.
Truths they could find and hold, but not the one truth. The highest was to them unknowable. That is how they declared it. Sri Aurobindo says the unknowable is unknowable by the mind, but it is knowable by another consciousness which transcends the mind, which we can have an access to. By knowing too much, they missed the whole to be known. This is the other danger. It reminds me of a small little story of three, religious people, pious men going in a boat ride, and the boatman, poor fellow, is earning a living, and they asked him. So first it was the turn of, let's put it like that, a Christian priest, a Muslim priest and a Hindu priest. So Christian priest asked him, have you read the Bible? He said, no sir. He said, I will give it to you. He is the greatest God. Then the Muslim priest asked, have you read the Quran? Because he is now inflamed. So he said, no, sir, I have not read the Quran. I earn my living. Oh, then your life is doomed. You take this otherwise. Now, Hindu priest, how can he quite? He said, have you read the Gita? No, sir, I can't understand Sanskrit, no time. He said, now you are pakka doomed. You please keep it, it will liberate you. Then suddenly this man asked the boatman, oh, sir, by the way, do you know swimming? He says, no, you are doomed. The boat is going to capsize. And he jumped into the sea and vanished. It's a very good story that, you know all these things. See, you don't know how to swim through the ocean of life with the divine grace can carry you. No book can carry you through the ocean of life but the grace. So by knowing too much, they miss the one thing to be known. Miss the whole to be known. The fathomless heart of the world was left unguessed, and the transcendent kept its secrecy. He will not reveal. If you meet him on the ground of mathematics, he will say, all right, I'll meet you in my study room. So he'll say, okay, you'll meet in a study room, debate, discuss. You give one theory, he'll give you another theory. He's concealing himself like that. Or you meet him as a servant, then you will know a lot more, because servant follows the master several places. But if you meet the divine as a beloved, then he will call you into the bedroom, make you sleep with him on the bed. And he'll say, come, I'll reveal my dreams to you. What I'm dreaming, because only to the beloved can you do this, nobody else. So the transcendent kept his secrecy. He says, all right, you are a knowledgeable person, very nice. In a sublimer and more daring soar, now start the journey to the intuitive mind. To the wide summit of the triple stairs, bare steps climbed up like flaming rocks of gold. Now you see, now this there is the sense of this gold, the supramental. You are getting close to the sun, like the solar flares, and you are now more and more in that region where even the substance, even that bhumi on which you stand, is made of that sunlight pouring upon it, flaming it there, burning their way to a pure absolute sky. It needs a great degree of purification before you can reach this step. August and few the sovereign kings of thought. So now these are the ones who have climbed to the peak. Unlike the illumined mind, which is in their eyes that light has come. Now they are sovereigns. They release great ideas into the world. They receive from above in wordless silence, and then they receive it into the world like great thought. So they are kings of thought. Have made of space their wide, all-seeing gaze. So again we see a large section of time they can see, of space they can see. Serving the enormous work of time. A breath of all-containing consciousness, supported being in a still embrace. There is the sense of somewhere, the sense of a hidden oneness, because they experience that embrace of oneness there. Intercessors with a luminous unseen, they capped in the long passage to the world the imperatives of the Creator Self. Capped is a very interesting word actually. One never uses CAPT. So they are, if you look for the dictionary meaning, it's like captains. So, but they are actually the ones who are, who actually in a certain sense is applied. They are the ones who bring that truth, hold it, and then they release it into the world. So they hold this truth and then release it to the world. Without them, they are intercessors. So they are between the luminous unseen, the supramental, and this creation below. So intercessors. Obeyed the imperative of the Creator Self, obeyed by unknowing earth, by conscious heaven. Their thoughts are partners in its vast control. So they are the ones who receive these ideas and then they release in their own way upon earth, which does not yet know what's going to happen. But much later this idea, like the idea of freedom, fraternity, equality, all this idea which was released in French Revolution, they didn't know what's happened. They just were seized by this idea. And Sri Aurobindo speaks of an ascetic sitting on the mountain tops who dreamed of freedom and equality. Surely he received it from an intuitive mind and must have released it into this world, that may this world be full of freedom and equality and fraternity. And this idea was caught by the French, by the Russians, by humanity today. And it tried to ignorantly or in its unknown, whatever, unknown earth, knowing earth. And they are the gods who are conscious that, oh, this idea has been released. So just before it strikes the earth, they know it. So like, a new brand comes. New cell phone brand. So they, oh, new idea. So they must be preparing themselves that after 100, 200 years, this is going to happen. So let's get ready. So they receive this new idea. It's described in Ilion, where Zeus has this idea which is going to be released. And all the gods are in the meeting, and Zeus tells them that, look, the days of the worship of this goddess is over. Now it's no more, like in Perseus again, the Poseidon, he will not be worshipped. Now it's a new god who will be worshipped. So now it's that God's hour. So you please withdraw yourself from your devotees, stop supporting them. It's a very interesting whole passage. So one of them says, how can you do this? But he says, that's fate. Fate is covered with a veil. It says, that's how it is. This is the decision from above. I am communicating to you. So they have no choice. So now they cannot help their devotees to win the war, even though, they have to take away their powers. It's a very interesting thing, which we find even in the Mahabharata and earlier in Ramayana stories or Mahabharata. There is this Banasura as a boon from Shiva. But there comes a time when he is disarmed because the hour is gone. So even the great gods withdraw. Now it's a different. So this is how we see even on earth there are different times, different gods who came, started being worshipped. So it's very interesting, this whole story they control. A great all-ruling consciousness is there, and mind unwitting serves a higher power. It is a channel, not the source of all. So here, of course, that there is not about intuitive mind, but in general, that there is an all-ruling consciousness, and mind only receives it. Even the intuitive mind is an intercessor. And whether we know it or not, we serve a greater power. The cosmos is no accident in time. Now this earlier line also means that by the mind we cannot know spiritual truth. The only way to know it is by ascension to these greater ranges. And each range we will know something of the truths. And if we stop there, that will be our end of the journey.
Mind is always unwitting.
Yes, unwitting instrument.
Yes.
So this illusion that mind can know truth by any amount of analysis, it cannot. And human mind impossible, even intuitive mind cannot know the full truth. It will know the truth which is brand new, released from the unknown. But it will not know the full truth which is all around. The cosmos is no accident in time. There is a meaning in each play of chance. There is a freedom in each phase of fate. So in Indian mythologies, we see this in a very interesting way. One god will give a boon, which is an impossible boon, like Ravana. You will not die of any creature except man or monkey. Now, it is strange. So Ravana thinks is practical immortality. So all the gods wonder now what to do. He has taken such a boon. But if you read through the whole story and all the interweaving plots, then even the gods are not fully aware as to why this boon has been given and what's going to happen. This revelation comes eventually when there is an explanation of it within the framework of the Indian tradition, but it comes when, at least to me, when I finally read Sri Aurobindo's poem on Rakshasa. That this was necessary because of the evolutionary necessity. Now, otherwise you don't understand why is such a boon. Now that is because you have the whole scene. He has the whole scene. And all these are gods. Those who have given the boon and those who will come and eventually destroy him, those who will support him, they're all ultimately actors in a great play, and they know huge things, but they don't know the total truth. So this is the beauty of this play. So everything that happens, there is a working of fate within, but also there is a freedom. At any point of time, there is a certain choice that is given to the soul to align itself with the divine will. A wisdom knows and guides the mysteried world. A truth gaze shapes its beings and events. A word self-born upon creation's heights. Voice of the eternal in the temporal spheres. Prophet of the seeings of the absolute. Sows the idea's significance in form. And from that seed the growths of time arise. Such a marvelous line.
The growths of time.
It reminds me of two things. One is in Savitri, after Ashwapati has a vision of the Divine Mother. And he's going to ask the boon for earth. Then Sri Aurobindo ends up that book 4, Canto 2, book 3, Canto 2. He ends with, this was a seed cast in endless time. A word is spoken. A light is shown. These ages toil to express.
Yes.
A word is spoken. So the second thing that is reminded of is Savitri. It is a seed sown in endless time. It is bound to arrive at fruition. When, how, individually, collectively, we have to wait and see. But one thing that I see, at least in many of the Sri Aurobindo circle where I have gone, that there is a great interest in Savitri as of now. And it's increasing exponentially.
Yes. I had a lot of difficulty with the word this versus thus. Because for years it was thus was a seed sown in endless space. And Richard Hartz brought out 16 editions in which Sri Aurobindo would change from this to thus, thus to this. The last one was this. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So it's so interesting that it's from there the seed is sown and centuries will pass
Yes.
for its full fruition. I mean, typical example is Mahabharata. Sri Aurobindo says that Shri Krishna saved India alive through the Mahabharata war. Because for the first time at that point of time in Dwapar Yuga ending, there was the creation of a nation unit. Before that, there were only tribes and clans. Now, but it was not that immediately India became a nation. He sowed the seed, the idea of a nation unit based on dharma. Look, thousands of years pass by, safeguarded, ups, downs. Today, at least, we speak about the Indian nation. By and large, the nation unit has come into being in the last few hundred years in most of the places. Otherwise, they were races, they were clans. So it's something so interesting that,
And Mother and Sri Aurobindo saved the world in World War II.
Yes, yes. On peaks beyond our ken, the all wisdom sits. A single and infallible look comes down. A silent touch from the supernal's air awakes to ignorant knowledge in its acts. The secret power in the inconscient depths, compelling the blinded Godhead to emerge. So how does this power act? Nothing. There is divine, hidden, sleeping in everything, the seed of divinity. It simply says, come, 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 awake and arise. At one place, the mother says this as a very nice, it's in words of long ago, exact words somebody wants to see. She says, a time should come when each of us should be able to say to everyone, arise, O immortal Godhead.
Yes.
And not, O wicked one. She says in this context, we should be able to say, arise, O immortal Godhead. from your sleep. That's all she does. And it's so interesting. Like, what does the sun do to the seed? It keeps giving its warmth, warmth, warmth. The seed probably feels something inside. It feels, but in its own way. Becomes restless, restless, restless. Then it bursts the covering to meet the sun. It has to go a long journey, mind you. It doesn't know which way the sun is. It throws the roots down, opposite direction. But the sun sanctions it. You must do this. Throw it down. And then it starts a very long, difficult journey. How does it go? It just feels for the warmth and the light. That's all.
Interestingly,
Against all gravity.
the seed first forms what we call the cotyledon.
Yes.
And that's a food storage system to get the roots down and support them until it can get to the light.
So you see, it's so symbolic, sometimes we have to make us rooted, well grounded. Our journey starts like this in ignorance. We don't know anything except the bodily self. Sometimes, this used to be one of my grievances. Everything is fine, but from childhood, even now I have this aspiration from birth. First cry, we should be conscious of the Divine Mother. Nothing doing. Then no problem. 1,000 lives come and go, no problem. But the problem is then you will never be rooted in earthly soil. You will, when you have that cry and see the Divine Mother, you would rush into her. You are not yet rooted. Life is not yet rooted. You will just vanish, probably not live. So, a veil of ignorance is put and you throw the roots. You only know physical life, vital life. And you jump like a monkey and you learn your body learns to preserve itself and hunger and thirst and everything. And then when the roots are thrown, then you feel that warmth and start struggling toward the light. The same process. So it's an all-seeing consciousness which knows. So basically world is safe. When Mother was asked about Third World War, he said, you don't worry, there is a supreme wisdom looking to it. Human beings cannot manage the quarrels in their homes and they want to decide the fortune of Third World War. Even the war within themselves. So, compelling, look at the words, the blinded Godhead to emerge. It's blinded.
Yes.
Determining necessity's new dance as she passes through the circuit of the hours and vanishes from the chase of finite eyes, down circling vistas of aeonic time. It also means that it's the future that draws us. And we don't know how, where, what is happening in our life, but it's compelling for something to emerge. That's why Mother would say, at one place she says, you should not, if you tell the divine that I am yours, then you should know that nothing in the world can eventually hold you back. Don't cry afterwards. He will remind us. You remember what you said at the Samadhi? I am yours. I took it seriously. But I didn't say so seriously. It doesn't matter. Now I won't let you belong to anyone else. We finished. I have sanctioned. Lord, didn't you sanction a little too fast? Well, I am the Malik of my marji. So beautiful it is, this whole journey when we look at it from that, and what a vastness. Vanishes from the chase of finite eyes, down circling vistas of aeonic time. We can't understand. Sri Aurobindo says that sometimes one life is spent only in preparation. Somebody who would see will never understand what happened to this person. Tirupati was meant to embody faith, lost his head. Somebody would say, oh, he was such a close disciple and what happened? Nothing is lost. It will come back, but it is a process. And now comes still further. The unseizable forces of the cosmic world bear in their backend limbs the fixity of an original foresight that is fate. It's totally reversed it because now it's a different scene. All this idea about fate, your karma, your past, gone. Intuitive mind doesn't see like that. Original foresight, that is fate. It's compelling you to emerge. So there is a struggle with the forces. This struggle helps to shape your personality. And eventually, through all this struggle, what is shaped out is something meant for the future. It's not for, because of some past events or your this life's effort. So beautiful, this whole thing. Original foresight. Several places Shubhendra has described fate in different ways. But here it's so powerful that, of an original foresight, that is fate. Even nature's ignorance is truth's instrument. He is taking it further. Our struggling ego cannot change her course. So what a reassurance. Not to worry. Because everything is eventually leading us towards the divine. There is a prayer of the mother in prayers and meditation where she hears the voice of the Lord as a melodious chant which says, and then it comes in inverted comma, poor sorrowful earth, do not worry. Each effort, each pang, each sorrow, each happiness, everything without a fail is taking you towards me who am endless peace and bliss. So it's not just sitting in yoga and meditation. Whole life is a constant journey. Yoga is just intensifying that journey and consciously saying, I know I am being driven by the great way, but I am enjoying it because it's your way. When we don't know, we struggle. But that's the tremendous...
Fate shall be changed
with an
by an
unchanging.
unchanging will.
So even our ego cannot change her course. Nothing depends on us. See, this is the highest seeing of the Divine Mother when she was asked, does your work depend on human beings? She said, not at all. What can we expect from you? Everything. What do you expect from us? Nothing. This is the highest seeing. Elsewhere, she has herself said that I would come down a little below and then I would say. But my highest seeing is where I say that nothing depends on you and grace will carry you through everything. So there are different levels of her own seeing. And she doesn't reveal this highest truth to everyone. It's like, like in Gita it comes at the end. Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja. That's the highest seeing. It doesn't depend on you. Here he's saying surrender or no surrender, it doesn't depend on you.
About Matrimandya, she said the same.
Yes.
And Oroville.
Yes.
The Lord is building Oroville.
Yes, the Lord is supreme.
Nothing depends on man.
Yet is it a conscious power that moves in us? A seed idea is parent of our acts. And destiny, the unrecognized child of will with a capital W. Unrecognized child. The divine has willed and we don't understand. And those whom he has chosen to be his instrument, Mother says, you think it is a joke? They have to face many things. They are prepared through many ordeals. If somebody is chosen to be the divine instrument, it's not that he has a cushy life and born in, it's because now you have chosen. That has been divine has picked up. And so that's the...
And even those who take the sunlit path have to go through
all the difficulties. And destiny, the unrecognized child of will, infallibly by truth's directing gaze, all creatures hear their secret self disclose. This is so true. People often ask in the ashram, why there is this and that? So I tell them sometimes this and that is everywhere. Here it is disclosed. You can't hide it. This is a place where truth acts. So nothing remains behind facades. Outside it remains behind masks, nice masks. Masks of sweetness, masks of morality, masks of religious practices. But deep inside, human nature is the same. Here it cannot, because whatever is inside will disclose itself. All creatures, look at this, all creatures hear their secret self disclose. How? Because of the truth's directing gaze. If you want to escape this process, then run away. But truth, once it has seen you, will not leave you anywhere. That's the Francis Thomas, that poem, The Hound of Heaven. He says, wherever I would run, even in a cave I hid myself, it would come. Once divine has seen us, We cannot escape its gaze, so we might as well go through the process. He will strip us bare and nude like the gopis of Vrindavan. I am a virtuous man. Oh, is it? Next day you realize you are no more a virtuous man. Virtuosity is gone. Why? Because, oh, good, now you are falling in line. Take a shower now. You want to wear your cloth of virtuosity and take a shower. Get a shower now. Oh Lord, this shower is too intense. Don't worry. Come out, I'll give you a nice scrub. Then we are ready for the dress of the new consciousness. So everybody goes through it. All creatures hear their secret self disclose, forced to become what in themselves they hide. You just cannot, it's bound to happen. But if you persist, then that destiny is carrying you through this process.
And it's beautiful to love.
For he who is, with a capital I, for he who is grows manifest in the ears, and the slow Godhead shut within the cell climbs from the plasm to immortality. He who is, it is he who is hidden himself in the cells. It is he who is hidden in himself in the heart. It is he who is lost in the cavern of heart. It is he who builds up the thought in the brain. And slowly he manifests, pressing through the years. Years means lives. And as he manifests, everything changes. That is the last act of the story of Prahlad. When he says, everywhere God is there, he says, yes. In this matter, yes. And he strikes the matter and becomes an instrument for the God to manifest and his own death. So this is how the ego dies. Slowly he emerges, and as he emerges, everything goes. So we should just cooperate in the process. And cooperate knowingly and happily, not grudgingly, because then the fun is lost. Sometimes when you are in the sea, I don't know if somebody has learned sea swimming or not. I'm not giving an idea, but first time when I went for trying to learn the sea swimming, my first and last day, I was told you have to do nothing. I said, what do you mean nothing? No, nothing. You have to just, sea will carry you. I said, is it? I said, I believed. There were two expert people around me and I believed them, So I said, okay. So he said, nothing, you just start. So I said, okay, lift your leg. So I lifted my leg. Next time I'm seeing mud and I don't know, I am gasping for breath. That moment I cannot forget in my life, and I am calling Ma. That's why I quote that story of Sri Ramakrishna. So Samai came up and they are smiling, these people. They are there, but I couldn't see anything of them because I could see only the sea and my life. And they were there. For them it was a play. No, he'll emerge. What is there? That's how you will learn. I said, okay, I have other things to learn in swimming. I'll keep this lesson for the moment. But it taught me a lesson of life.
Actually, scary sea.
Yeah.
Sea is scaring you.
Scary.
Yeah. No, it's scaring you.
Yeah, I know that. I know that. That the physical body was tumbled and it my first drowning in the water. I mean, surely one could get over it. The point is that this is how we can go in the yoga, either full of doubt and fear and give it up. Or we can say, I really trust you and let myself go. Only thing is that, it's easier to trust the divine than the being of the sea. So that's how it is. And yes, if the divine appoints you the task of saving people in the sea, you have to do it. It doesn't matter.
But what you said about mother,
Yes.
I had a similar experience in Hawaii, in which I was caught and pulled out to sea 500 meters. 25-foot waves crashing over me. I couldn't get back in. I lay on my back, I signaled to Mary Helen, I waved first. And she thought I was having a great time. Then I realized this is the signal for help, help, SOS. And so I'm lying there, and I said, Mother, if this is my last moment, please accept my gratitude and humility for this life. And two guys came out on a surfboard. One almost drowned, and they pulled me back in. But it was, I had no fear, because I just trusted her. And whatever would happen, fine, I'll be in her.
Wonderful. I have faced many kinds of situations, but this sea situation was, it taught me about yoga.
Yeah.
Flights likely to crash, all this, no issue. But the sea situation was overwhelming. And in those few moments, I learned a great lesson of yoga. That, well, this is the state in which one enters. And now one can understand that, well, whatever happens, you may be tumbling, but do not grumble. Just trust her. She will carry us through everything. Even when we cannot see anything, it looks all muddy water down below and no helping hand around. Still she is there and you will come out. I mean, I also don't know how I came out. Nobody really pulled me out. But it was a lesson of life that this is how it is. Last few lines, then we'll stop. But hidden, but denied to mortal grasp, mystic, ineffable is the Spirit's truth. Unspoken, caught only by the Spirit's eye. So how we can see it? When naked of ego and mind, it hears the voice. It looks through light to ever greater light and sees eternity ensphering light.